Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, I played a game with Tails in it and Ryan played a game called Tails, so let's jump on into the Xbox Drive. Boom!
No power greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
How did you like that one, Ryan? That one I thought about for at least 5 seconds before we started recording. So I was all about it. I'm proud of myself for remembering a thing I wanted to say. That's half the job. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. You know, I wasn't expecting that one. I mean, it's
a good one.
Certainly something. It was pretty good. I have to give you props for it. Didn't get me though, Sean. You still haven't really broken me yet.
Tails, the guy from Sonic.
I get the joke, Sean.
Tales of Arise, the game that you played.
It's
different Tales, but
we've been playing a lot
of
of WarioWare, and it's definitely showing right now. Let me tell you what, because of all the zaniness that's going on.
Deteriorating my brain. Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is the Xbox Drive where we talk about Xbox all the time, except for right now. But we got to clean the garage a little bit before we get into all of the proceedings for the show. First of all, if you like what we do here at the podcast and you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways you can do that. Number one, if you subscribe to us on your podcast feed of choice, like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, we're on all the things. So check us out on your podcast service of choice. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave one on Apple Podcasts, we will actually read it on the show, just like Nintendad did, which we're actually going to read a little bit after this segment. Also, you can support us by checking us out on Twitter at YouMeCapris or on Instagram at YouMeCapris as well. Also, if you want to see our beautiful faces every single week, we do a video version of this show as well as some of our other shows over at youtube.com/YouMeCapri as well. So you can check us out there. Of course, like, subscribe, comment, share, binge all the old videos, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandma, tell everyone that we're on YouTube. Check out our videos. Maybe even just comment with a little comment saying I'm here to help the algorithm, like so many of our followers have been doing.
Yes, all hail the rhythm.
My God, that's going to have to be a shirt at some point, Sean.
We need a shirt.
Check us out there. Last but not least, of course, you can get early access to this and all of our shows over at Patreon, patreon.com/YouMeCapri. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar and out comes content. We also have some exclusive shows like the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons podcast, which I know, Sean, you were doing some free samples of on the We the Gamercast feed. So you can go check that out there if you've never heard the Pants podcast and you want to know what that is. But this week, I know, is returned just to Patreon.
We have so many things for people to do. We appreciate everything that all the people do. We're giving away a controller, Ryan Turford.
There's that too for Apple Podcast reviews, because we're one away. We're one review away, Sean.
Let's get it. We'll get it by next week.
We'll have it by next week. So speaking of Apple Podcast reviews, like I said, we have one from Nintendad, who writes in with the title of the review says, "Baw." And they write, Sean and Ryan come to you live every week from Sean's car and go over this week on Xbox News. Top notch and is don't miss podcasting. I read it word for word. That's
nice.
That's there. So Nintendad, thank you so much for the really nice review on Apple Podcasts for us. And there you go. So again, if you want to win that Goon Squad Xbox controller from Space Jam, go on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review for us there. Well, enough about all that. Let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist. And Sean, we played some games this week. I mean, it's that time of year. It's September. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now, where all the games are starting to come out. So Sean, start us off. What'd you play this week?
This is the meat of the show, Ryan Turford. We played so many games. We are in the thick of it, my friend. I'm broke. I purchased all the games. Sonic Colors Ultimate, or otherwise known as Sonic Colors Ultimate, is a video game that I purchased on the Xbox system, and I've been playing that. I streamed it on twitch.tv/Sean Capri. And this is a game, did you play it on the Wii, Ryan Turford, back in the day? Yeah. You knew about this game. I didn't even know that existed, which is amazing because I was all up in the Wii's business back in the day. Saw the trailer, was wowed by the colors, was kind of like, okay, I don't love 2D Sonic. Maybe this is kind of what I wanted. I remember somehow enjoying the Sonic game on Dreamcast. For whatever reason, for better or for worse, I seem to remember enjoying the Sonic game on Xbox 360. So let's give this a try. And Ryan, it's a mixed bag, my friend. This is a mixed, and maybe that's the legacy of Sonic coming through. graphic wise, I think this game looks really good. I think they did a really nice job of the remaster. Looks and it performs really well on my Series X. All the colors are popping and everything. Then you flip into like the cinematics, and it's not so great. Like they kind of did basically like a DVD upscaling to 1080p, if you remember that technology back in the day. The cinematics are the same as they were on the Wii days, just sort of like, I don't know, some sort of like AI technique to
That's
to
something
scale
that they
up.
talked about on the Digital Foundry video.
Right.
Where it's essentially just the same cinematics, but they basically upscaled them from, actually it was
Very
480p on the Wii, or 480i. There was
You
versions
notice,
of those. Yeah.
you notice, and the dialogue is like, okay, that's why Mario doesn't talk. That's why they don't really give them a whole lot of like. It's just it doesn't scale like I think it needs to, or the way that Mario does from kids to adults. Like it's definitely kiddish in the dialogue. Very some puns, which I tend to like my puns, but just not the strongest. So it kind of had me cringing a little bit in those. Didn't really care too much about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the game is a fun romp of levels, and sort of all categorized in these amusement parks that are sitting out in space, which I love space. Everybody knows this. They're taking a elevator up to this amusement park, floating out in space. So who doesn't love an elevator up to space? That's all good stuff. And yeah, basically a series of time trial runs, getting to the end of the level as fast as humanly possible, while also collecting all of the things is basically what you're getting with this game. And when it works good, it works great. I don't know that I'm saying anything terribly unique or controversial, really. Like when you're flowing, it feels good. And then when you're not flowing, it's like, golly, Sonic's jump sucks. Like he doesn't control well until you're sort of really moving along. But for whatever reason, when it feels good enough that I am continuing to play it. And I am continuing to go back to levels to try to get all of the things, all of the little coins, the little red coins. There's all these other kind of collectibles that you can get to then customize your Sonic and get all these almost like in-game currency. You can get like pink shoes or red shoes, or you can get a different trail when he runs really fast. All those types of things are there and added now. That's the ultimate part of it. And overall, like I'm glad I have it, but it's also not going to be anybody's game of the year kind of thing. It is truly a mixed bag. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was never really going to be like, that's not the expectation, anyone should have had going into Sonic Colors. Cause I mean, to your point, the story, kind of sucks. I mean, I've known that from the Wii days, but at the same time, I never play a Sonic game for the story. And
no,
I don't really
just
feel
like Mario.
You should never come in with that approach. So, I mean, the cinematics themselves, they're kind of like dumb and they don't really
but they're
look
also
great.
plentiful.
You know what?
That's the thing, is like Mario kind of knows its place. It sets it up. Princess is gone, blah, blah, blah. And then you're off and running. And they almost try to reward you for finishing off a section. Like, here's your cinematic. And it's like, that's not the payoff I really want. But it does have it gives you a reason to revisit some of the levels, because it seems like there's these jelly little colored things that unlock, almost like in Mario World, where you flip the switch, like the red switch and the blue switch and the green switch, all those things, and you can go back to those levels where they had like the outline for those blocks. That's kind of the same idea with Sonic Colors, where you can go back to some of these levels now having additional power-ups that Sonic can get that allow you to explore different parts of the level and get all the different collectibles as well.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the gameplay really is like what the meat and potatoes is for this game. And honestly, I really like the gameplay of Sonic Colors. Like back when I played it on the Wii, like I really enjoyed it. In fact, it's not. I didn't just play it, when it came out. I have it on my shelf. I've actually played it multiple times since the Wii days. So it's actually a game I'm pretty familiar with. And I know that the gameplay still holds up pretty well. So it's a testament to how fun it is to play. The fact that you, Sean Capri, the person I know who probably hates Sonic the most, is still continuing to play this game.
That's my legacy. Yeah, it's if I don't, first of all, you can just play it and just like get to the end, and that's fun. Like as soon as you start to go, where is that red coin? Like the exploration of it, which kind of feels almost like a 2D kind of Banjo-Kazooie, almost like a Donkey Kong Country kind of thing. Like once it starts to try to be something else, that's where you feel it working against itself. But when you're on your roller coaster ride with Sonic, the camera angles are super fun and engaging. And like, I always kind of have a smile on my face where it's like, oh man, it really feels like it's taking me for a ride. But yeah, when I'm trying to platform is basically when things get a little bit frustrating. The double jump doesn't feel like I think it should. It's more of like a little, it kind of feels like a Yoshi kind of like he's going just a little more. It doesn't feel like a true double jump. The timing of it is quite particular, which I feel like it could do itself some favors by easing up a little bit on that precision. It's not a precision platformer, but sometimes it asks you to do that a little bit. But anyways, I'm glad I have it. It's probably going to be half price in about 2.5 weeks. But it's kind of filled in a short little gap for me, my friend.
Makes sense. I'm glad you gave it a chance as well, because I know again, I know you're biased against Sonic, but at the same time, I know that you don't mind some of the 3D Sonic stuff. So
I'm open-minded.
Yeah,
I do. I will be open about my bias, but I will be open to trying new things. And this one, for whatever reason, similar to WarioWare, some of these things just like they're catching my eye, my friend. And I'm glad that I played it. I like technically I will finish it probably, but I don't know. It seems hard to like 100% this game. It seems like it'll be pretty challenging.
There's going to be a lot to do. So I don't know if you're going to want to go down that road, especially with some of the other games that we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we'll see. We'll see. You might surprise yourself, Sean. But what else did you play?
Oh, I continued on with Psychonauts. I'm back on that train. What area am I in? Oh man. I'm in this dude's brain. I'm in Ford Cruller's brain is where I'm at. So I've got and he's kind of all over the place. There's like 3 of them everywhere, so I'm kind of getting him back on track. So I don't know where that is in relation to the end, but dude, that game is so good. I wish I was done it. I'm definitely distracted at this point. I had my chance to be focused on it and finish it, but I definitely got derailed by that bug that we had in the review process that forced me to replay all the way up until that point. But here we are, man. Psychonauts is really good. And when I don't play it, I'm like, I don't know if this is really kind of game of the year material. And then I play it, and I'm like, this probably should be part of the conversation. You know what I mean? Like it's such a weird thing when I'm experiencing it and when I'm in it, it's really, really good. And then I step away from it for a bit and I go, I don't know. So I'm going to ruminate on that a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a ton of time between now and then too. So I mean, a lot can change. Like even though it's currently kind of in my personal top 3 after kind of, having some time between the review and now to kind of think about it. It might not be that way when the end of the year comes around because, again, we've got so many cool games to look forward to. But at the very least, I think it's a game that we will probably be talking about when we do kind of our Game of the Year discussion. Even if you're not the one that brings it up, I'll probably be the one that brings it up and we will at least talk about it probably. So,
well, and you do this. Like you have a running top 3 where I haven't done that yet. And if I'm being honest with myself, it's probably right there for me as well. Like if I just kind of take 5 seconds to think about it, but I guess that I won't do that because I'm just going to get a drink instead. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think they might have Diet Coke there, Sean, hopefully.
I don't know. Is it early? It's 9 o'clock. I don't know if that might be early for Diet Coke. Might be doing the decaf. This is actually my second trip to McDonald's today. I got a coffee first thing in the morning.
It's 9 in the morning. How is it your second trip?
Because I got up early and I did the Pants Patreon podcast. Oh, here we go. Hi there. Yep. I would love a medium decaf with 2 Splenda, please. That's all. I wonder if she was waiting for me to like stop talking to you because she sort of just nothing was happening. And the screens are off. Ryan, did you play anything?
So I did play one thing this week besides. So first of all, we played Halo this week and it was really fun.
Oh yes, that was so good. Shout out to freaking Halo Saturdays, dude. That was amazing. We had a whole freaking lobby. It was awesome.
Yeah. So first of all, if you want to play Halo with us, come join us every Saturday. Sean's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Sean Capri. But as for me, I played Tales of Arise, the game that I had on my S tier list on the Sweet Hangs official tier list of games coming out this year. It's one of my most anticipated games of the year. I came away really high from the demo of Tales of Arise, and I was really excited to play it. And I actually picked it up late Saturday night, basically after we finished playing Halo. Played a couple hours of it, but then I noticed some weird stuff going on with my TV. So I kind of had put the game down for the rest of the night. Woke up the next morning, went to turn on my TV, and it no longer turned on. So so as a result, I don't have really a backup TV in my house. I essentially have a BenQ 12-inch monitor that I basically use in my office. That basically is used for like editing things or doing some small video playback stuff. So I've currently got my Xbox hooked up to it because I wanted to play a little bit more of Tales, and I've gotten about 6 hours into the game, but
Oh, wow.
there's only so much game time I want to do, in my office in front of that monitor. Like, and also I'm not really getting like the full experience I feel when I do it that way. So that's why, like, when I figured by the time we were going to talk about it this week, like I'd be like 15 to 20 hours into this game already. But I just haven't had enough time to play with it because my new TV comes tomorrow. So I'm actually very excited.
Oh, what did you
I
get?
Pick one up.
Did you kind of upgrade? Did you treat yourself?
I did upgrade, but I didn't go all the way. So I didn't get an LG CX because those are like $2,000 here in Canada. And that was kind of outside my price range. But I did get an LG NanoCell.
Yes, join the club. Yes, I love it.
With all the new features, the new bells and whistles. So I have 120 frames for the first time and variable refresh rate, which is going to look really pretty. So
yes,
we might even gotten the same model, Sean.
The fire rises. You probably have a newer one. I think I've got maybe a year older, maybe 2 years older.
Mine is
the Costco special, the 90.
Oh yeah,
you have the 90 or 95.
I think I got that model, but it's the 2021 version of that.
Yeah, I definitely don't have that. Anyways, amazing, dude. That is, oh man, you are in for such a treat. You gotta get your ultra high definition HDMI cables and all of the features 2.1. Oh my gosh, Ryan.
Especially because I had like my 4K TV was older anyways. Like I've had it for almost 6 years now. So it's been a long time since I've had it because I did get one of the earlier 4K TV models, like when they were first starting to come out, and when they kind of got their first price drop, that's when I jumped in. So yeah, it's going to be really cool to play it. So Tales of Arise,
I'm happy.
I'm still very early on in it, and it's still kind of in the kind of prologue-y tutorial-ish section of the game where
10 to 15 minutes. Have you got like a title screen in 6 hours or so?
Oh, I have. I just I can tell I'm in that portion of the game because I don't have all the party members yet,
Gotcha.
or all of the kind of the features unlocked. So I'm kind of like it eases you into the experience really slowly. But every Tales game kind of does that. So as a longtime Tales fan, I know kind of what to expect, especially because they set up this big kind of story ahead of time without introducing all the characters and stuff like that. Basically, the story in this game, just a quick synopsis, is essentially...
Yes, I was going to ask.
There's essentially two planets that are actually pretty close together. So there's the planet of Donna and the planet of Rena. And Rena is essentially this, like, what's known as kind of the planet in the sky. It's almost like this moon.
Almost like a moon?
Around
Yeah.
Donna, yeah. So the inhabitants of Rena come down from the sky, and they basically take over Donna, and they basically
they
enslave
rain
them.
shit on it, dude.
Yeah, so they essentially
Annihilate.
turn them into slaves, and they basically split up the planet of Donna into like 6 different regions that are each controlled by this lord, essentially. And what the reason they take over the land is they're basically, as they enslave people, they're basically ciphering their ether away from them, like their life force, essentially, to basically power the magical abilities of all the people from the planet of Rena. And then what they're trying to do with this magical power is they're trying to hold this contest to basically determine who the next ruler of Rena is going to be. And they're basically the leaders of each of the 6 nations that were formed in Donna are Rena ruler, and they're basically trying to fight each other to the death, essentially, to determine who's going to win this contest. So
Very dark.
Yeah, it has kind of a dark tone because you actually start out as this person named Iron Mask. His name's not actually Iron Mask. Obviously, if you've seen the trailers, he's the main protagonist from.
It's
the
Leonardo
Alphen.
DiCaprio.
Of course. So you start out as Alphen, and he's in this slave camp, and you basically discover this girl named Xion, who is essentially one of the 6 people who's kind of in this contest to be
That's
one
what
of
people
the
call me
rulers.
sometimes. Sean.
I'm just shaking my head at you on the other side of the phone here. But yeah, so Xion is basically in this battle to determine who the ruler is going to be, and she enlists Alphen to basically help her out with the contest. So that's kind of, I mean, there's more I can go on with the story from there, but I'm going to kind of save it for our review discussion, because we will be doing a review discussion of the game at some point. We just haven't really determined when that's going to be.
Matt from the PlayStation Drive, did he get it as well?
Yep.
So he got it, you bought it, I got a copy of it as well after you purchased yours. So I basically got through the cutscene. Everything you just explained, I got through that last time. Like, it is not a good idea to start this RPG at 11 o'clock at night. So I'm going to be diving into it later on tonight. I'll jump in on the conversation with you next week.
Yeah, it's a little bit talky at the beginning, but again, it's a Tales game. Everything that I've kind of seen at the beginning is what I expected from the Tales game. But again, what I've been really happy about is how the combat has changed between previous games, as well as just the visual fidelity of the game. Just is like a huge step up from all of the previous Tales games, especially because the last one, Tales of Berseria, was essentially a PS3 game that happened to just get ported to PS4 with very minimal changes. So we really haven't had like a proper Tales game in almost 2 generations, essentially, at this point, since PlayStation 3. So for the most part, I think that this game just really elevates kind of the Tales series in a really nice way. But again, we'll dive into that further when we have kind of our discussion. But I'm really enjoying it so far. Again, as a longtime Tales fan, I've been really enjoying my time with it, and I think it's pretty awesome. So I'm excited to talk about it more. But I'm slamming the brakes on this conversation, Sean.
Oh, can I do a quick shout out to Valfaris? Josh Stapleton jumped in on my stream and he's like, dude, I found this game. It's kind of like an older indie game, side scrolling, almost like a Contra type of thing. And he's like, this is a Sean Capri-ass game. And I'm like, ooh, you have piqued my interest. It's got like this death metal soundtrack and it's almost like Viking metal kind of theme to it. A lot of monsters, a lot of demons. And it's kind of like my favorite thing right now, dude. I went back and do some of our codes. I'm like, I have a code for this. I can play Valfaris. It's a $20 indie game that people should definitely at least watch the trailer for. Check out some of the screenshots for it because you wander around. It kind of looks like Metroid. You get new upgrades. You get new weapons. You slash people with their sword. It's got like an amazing metal soundtrack. So if you like sort of like that kind of thing, check out Valfaris. It's my comfort food right now. If I don't know what to play, I'll jump into that, play for a romp, beat some wicked bosses, chop some things up, and get some wicked power-ups. It's 90s extreme, my friend. It gives me all the feel. So you might actually like it quite a bit too, Ryan Turford.
Yeah, I mean, just sounding like everything you kind of described sounds like a Ryan Turford game. So I might have to check this one out.
Yeah, dude, you're just wandering around. It's got some galloping triplets. Oh my gosh, dude, so good. Anyway, that's Valfaris. Indie game. People should check it out.
I think that's the type of game that maybe I wait till like later in the year to check out because again, there's too many games right now.
There's lots happening right now. Yeah, I'm distracted. What can I say? But I'm having lots of fun playing all the video games. Not even just some video games. I'm playing all the video games.
For sure. Well, speaking of all the video games, Sean, we're segueing into breaking news because we got so many games coming to Game Pass this month that we got to get through this list. So, of course, they just announced this yesterday. The following games are coming to Game Pass this month for the rest of the month. So we got Flynn, Son of Crimson, which is out September 15th. That's today, the day we're recording this. And then tomorrow on the 16th, we are getting I Am Fish, Skatebird, and Superliminal. And then on September 17th, we're getting Origami 2, which is a stealth game. And then on September 23rd, we're getting a bunch of releases that day, including Lost Worlds Beyond the Page, which I know Matt over at the PlayStation Drive, my co-host, is actually a huge fan of. He's been telling people to play that for a while because I think he got to play it early. He says it's really good, so check that one out. We're also getting Sable, Subnautica Below Zero, which is kind of the Frozen expansion for Subnautica that came out last year. And then Tainted Grail Conquest, which is coming to PC the same day. And then on the September 28th, we're getting Lemnis Gate. And then September 30th, we are getting Astria Ascending and Unsighted. Astria Ascending, of course, is a game I'm very excited about because it's a turn-based JRPG.
Yep.
And then last but not least, Phoenix Point comes to Game Pass on October 1st. So lots of smaller style games, Sean. I mean, I know a lot of these games I hadn't really heard of until this drop, like I Am Fish or Flynn, Son of Crimson, or even something like Tainted Grail Conquest. Like, I don't know what half of these games are. So I'm interested maybe to check them out. They're on Game Pass, so maybe some will be fun, some will not. Obviously, though, I know I haven't heard of a lot of this stuff, but what about you, Sean? Have you heard of any of these games? What do you think?
I have to say, I'm really just glad that somehow we got you to say Tainted at least twice on this show this week. That's my big takeaway here. I haven't heard of any of these games. Really, it's an interesting time. Just big games kind of coming out. I think we'll see this as the years go on, as big games that kind of will demand your full money, if that makes sense. Like Tales is a big game that you can and probably should be playing on Xbox. We'll have more fleshed out impressions on this. be buying those games. You can be buying Sonic Colors, and I feel like what is offered in Game Pass is going to reflect what full price games are also available as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And also, I think what is it next month? Do we have a big one for October, or do we have to wait until
Back for Blood?
Oh, that's right. Okay, so we're going to get a big deal for October, November, and December. They all have big deal games for Game Pass. So this is sort of like a quiet before the storm, I would say, is how I would describe that.
For sure. And I don't know how quiet this is, though, because, again, that's a lot of games.
There's a lot of games. Right. It makes up for, so maybe there's something there for somebody. Like I think you mentioned, what was it, Astria? What was it?
Astria Ascending, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like that's there for you. I think for me, just personally, I've got my games right now. Like I'm probably good. I was really interested in Skatebird. Might have been the only one that I might want to check out, but I think I might wait to see if somebody else tries it. Is it fixed? Does it still feel kind of rough? But of them all, that one was the one that caught my attention earliest. But the demo kind of ruined it for me a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I think we talked about it on last week on the show or a couple weeks ago, where we both were kind of unimpressed with the demo. But it's a cool concept for a game.
Totally.
It's just the demo itself didn't hold up that great. But
it's like what I would do like as a kid with my toys. I would go like, I'm going to put this bird on a skateboard and drive him around, kind of thing. Like that sounds fun.
Makes sense. Well, Sean, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the games leaving Game Pass. So leaving Game Pass games on September 31st. This is your last chance to play them. Drake Hollow, Iconfell, Night in the Woods, Kathy Rain on PC, and then Warhammer Vermintide 2. Those are all leaving Game Pass on the 31st. And again, I know I would say normally you should jump onto them right away if you want to get a chance to play them, but it's tough to do right now because there's so many games out right now. But I know I liked a couple of these. Like Iconfell was actually a surprising fun game, and then Night in the Woods was a lot of fun. I've heard good things about Warhammer Vermintide 2, but I never got a chance to play it. And then the other two I just don't really know much about. So.
Yeah, I mean even just two. Even if you have like one good game leaving, it kind of stings a little bit. But at the same time, you've got all these other games coming. But yeah, a shout out to Warhammer. I wish I was more into that world, that series. I think there might be something there. That might be one of the next things, Ryan. As I venture off into comics, anybody who's been listening to me on other things, I'm reading the Scott Pilgrims. I'm reading the Saga comics. I read a Spider-Man comic by J.J. Abrams. All the things, man. So who knows? Maybe there's a time in and Pokemon, of course. Who could forget Pokemon? So maybe there's a time waiting for me in the near future for Warhammer as well. But
you just start painting little figures with Link and Ellie. It's gonna be
honestly great. Well, I introduced because they have Warhammer figures at the comic shop we go to, and they were asking about that. Like, what is this? And I'm like, ooh, a little interest there, little one. So yeah, that would be super fun.
Nice. Well, next up on the docket, of course, Dying Light 2, Stay Human, has been delayed from December until February 4th, 2022. February. We have a question about this coming to us from Jedi Master Ren on Discord.
Nice.
He asks the question, hey guys, do you think Dying Light 2 being delayed allows it to breathe without being crammed right around the launch of Halo Infinite? Or could they potentially have moved themselves into a worse release window and be overshadowed by what's coming later in February? So, I mean, it depends on the reason why they're delaying this, Ren, because I think that with the window in February, they're probably not delaying it just because Halo is right there. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe they actually do need more time. Like it's not a move for a better scheduled time. I think it might actually just be that they need a little bit more time with it. The problem that you kind of alluded to is I do think they probably moved themselves into a worse window for this game. At least they're out before a lot of the big games in February because a lot of them aren't coming till the end of February. We've talked about it on the show numerous times, or even on the PlayStation Drive when this week where they announced like 8 new games for that window this week. So it's just going to be very silly picking what games we're actually going to play. It's kind of the new September. February is the new September for when all the games come out.
And I have that in my mind. Like, that February is gross. Horizon is coming out in February. Like but I'm struggling to remember off the top of my head, like what else is happening
there's Saints Row. There's a bunch of other games that I'm kind of blanking on. Again, I think there's less of them on the Xbox side because I know a lot of them are on PlayStation because we've got that. We got the Destiny 2 expansion, the Witch Queen. We've got Sifu, which is on PlayStation. The Evil Dead game is supposed to be coming out that month.
Oh, no. That looks so good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of games. But again, January isn't much better either because you've got Elden Ring. You've
Yeah.
got the
End of
Tom
January,
Clancy's
too.
Rainbow Six Extraction. You've got Pokemon Legends Arceus. So bunch of games just in that month too.
Oh
So
God,
it's looking to be quite packed already with lots of games next month. Or not next month, next year in February.
Yeah.
So, Sean, what do you think about this question from Jedi Master Red?
I mean, for me personally, I'll just kind of speak for me. Like, thank you. Yeah, get out of my Halo time. Because I want to sink some time into Dying Light 2. I'm really, really excited about it. And I was a little bit conflicted. Like, Halo's going to be a thing. But also, Halo isn't coming to me with the one of the features I'm really looking forward to, which is that campaign co-op kind of deal. So, but I feel like even with that said, I'll probably have a lot to do playing solo campaign, playing multiplayer with all the friends, all those things. So yeah, like delay it. It's not terrible. At least getting out of the way of Halo. Now I can have fun with that. But February does seem kind of crazy. I don't know for how many people Dying Light is like on their S rank of the most hyped games. Like it's
we know
it's
one
up
person
there for
Sean.
me, right? Yeah, Donnie Reese, of course, from Play Some Video Games, and I'm almost there with them. And I think that's kind of it. So, yeah, I hope that they find an audience with this game because I do know that they're really trying to push things. They're really trying to be ambitious with it, which is likely the case for the delay and has been the case the entire time. Like it's been an interesting development story for this game. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I hope they stick the landing. I kind of expected to see Halo get delayed as well at this point because honestly, when you see a December release date, I get a little worried just in the notion that it seems to me that a December release date attempts to try to get some of that holiday hype, holiday dollars, and you needed as many human hours as possible to develop that. Like that's as late in the year as you could possibly do it. When maybe in reality, maybe it'd be better to release it in January or February. You need even more time. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know that I don't necessarily feel that way about Advance Wars, which is coming from Nintendo, which is the only other game that I really know of that's coming out in December.
I think of Cyberpunk is a good example from last year. I think of Jedi Fallen Order. I think what had some issues that got polished out a little while afterwards. Like those are games that came on much later in the year. Basically, if they miss the deadline for that and the deadline to be considered for Game of the Year for the Game Awards with Jeff Keighley, like that's kind of the marker. I feel like if you release after that, but still within that calendar year, then I'm watching you. You know what I mean? I feel
there's actually a lot of games that are kind of missing that window this year because you've got Shin Megami Tensei's out of that window.
Yeah, well, I'm watching that too. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. There's a bunch of games that are kind of releasing beyond that window because that window is basically at the beginning of November. Like Forza technically is missing the window provided they don't provide like
I'd
super
watch that
early
one.
access
I don't want to say negativity to it, but I might watch that one too. Like that seems because that one seems fast. That game is coming out seemingly quick after Forza Horizon 4, but that maybe is for another story.
Yeah,
or another day. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm the real question I have for you, Sean. Does this mean that we can probably convince Donnie to play Halo with us now that Dying Light's been delayed? Do you think this is a possibility?
I don't think so. You know, and a wise person once told me if somebody isn't taking your advice or if they stop listening to you, then just stop talking to them. You know, maybe we just give up. Maybe we just focus on other people who might even be considering playing with us. How about we try that for reverse psychology, Ryan? You think that'll work?
Oh, jeez.
Just give up on them. We tried it on Nintendo as well. We're just going to stop talking about a Direct. We're all giving up hope on that. And then as soon as we all agree to that energy, then we'll get it.
Jesus.
All classic. Well, a little dark, a little manipulative.
A little dark,
maybe?
Sean.
Oh,
a little dark.
I don't know if it's that dark. Well, we'll see. We'll see what people say.
Next news story, and the next couple news stories that we're going to go through kind of quick came from the PlayStation Showcase.
Okay.
But they have Xbox implications, which is why we're going to talk about them here. So first up, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands officially has a release date. It will launch on Xbox One and Series X and S on March 25th. So this is the medieval fantasy Borderlands spinoff. They showed some gameplay and it looked like more Borderlands just in a fantasy setting. I mean, Matt and I were both pretty mad about this trailer because neither of us really like Borderlands. But I know, Sean, even though I know you didn't like Borderlands 3, I know you actually like Borderlands a lot. So did this do anything for you? What do you think?
Yep, it totally did something for me. Yeah, it absolutely did. I was a little confused on what the tie-in was. And at a certain point, I kind of go, who the hell cares? I don't care what tie-in it is with Borderlands 3. Obviously, Tiny Tina being the answer there. But just kind of like, let's take a little substance and see what happens in the Borderlands world. Dude, this looks awesome. I love what was the line? Something like, "Why are there guns?" Well, it doesn't even matter. Just play the game. Like, I love that irreverence. Hopefully the humor kind of lands. And yeah, a lot of my issues with Borderlands 3 were more performance, but then also some of the level design I felt like kind of got in its own way of me just flowing through and enjoying the game. So we'll see if those kind of issues are ironed out here. It also kind of reminds me of what they do with the Far Cry games when they had like Far Cry Primal or New Dawn, sort of like reusing some assets in a kind of funky kind of way. So yeah, this absolutely has my interest, and I thought it had a really good trailer, honestly.
Yeah, I think the trailer itself, again, looked fine, again, but it's just, I just came away with it not being excited because, again, I already know what that game's going to play like because it's a Borderlands game, and I know that I'm probably not the audience for that. But again, I think Borderlands fans have a lot to look forward to it because I do think that maybe a change of scenery is going to make a big difference as far as making the game feel fresh. So I do think it'll definitely help kind of maybe revitalize the franchise a little bit, and hopefully it's awesome.
I'm really surprised that you don't click with that. Maybe we need to play together or something because we had a lot of fun playing Diablo. And
I was gonna say the only time I've played Borderlands is by myself. I've never played co-op. Before. So.
Maybe we need to jump on together sometime.
Maybe. All right. Next up, returning from last week, is a story we talked about last week, but we got some confirmation on it. Alan Wake Remastered got a release date. It'll come to Xbox One and Series X and S on October 5th. We also got a price for this. This is $40. And from what I saw in the trailer, I have a contentious thing to say. I don't know if this is worth $40 worth of upgrades when we already have the backwards compatible version on Xbox. I'm just throwing it out there right now.
Interesting. It's funny that you say it because I was going to say I'm glad we're talking about this again because I felt like I said some damning things about that notion. And from what I saw, I thought it actually looked quite a bit better. I saw some side-by-side screenshots and thought that especially Alan's skin tone and skin's kind of texture looks much more realistic this time around. I felt like they did a pretty nice job that I don't know that you would get from a free master, but I don't know. Maybe we'll watch some more side-by-side stuff on this and watch it very closely.
Yeah, and especially it'll be interesting to compare because I know the screenshots were from, or the side-by-sides were from the original non-1X enhanced version of the game. So I wonder what the comparisons are going to be between the 1X enhanced version and the remaster are, because that's more what my brain is kind of comparing them to, because that's what's most fresh in my mind from playing it recently. Especially too, because most people I think on Xbox either have Alan Wake in some capacity, whether they claimed with games with gold a long time ago, or it was actually free a number of times through various promotions, which is how because even though I have a physical copy, I also have a digital copy for free that I got at one point because they were giving away for free for like 6 months at one point. So if you already have it on Xbox, it's going to be interesting to see how much better it is versus that version and whether or not that is going to be worth paying the $40 for it. It also comes with
good
extra DLC as well. So there is that available to you if you didn't buy the DLC that for Alan Wake back in the day. But again, the DLC right now, if you buy it on the Xbox store, which you still can, it's very cheap. It's like $5 for each of the packs, and there's 2 of them. So you're essentially basically paying $10 or $15 anyways for if you don't have the base game, and you basically have everything that this has for $40 in it. So it just depends on, I guess, how much the graphical changes are really going to enhance the experience, I think is what it's going to come down to. So,
well, give them a nice boost, man. It has a lot of attention. A lot of people have been talking about Alan Wake since it's a thing. A lot of people, it seems like they just need to capitalize on this newfound kind of excitement and chatter about it, which they never really had, I don't think. I don't know that it's sold all that crazy. I think that's the entire reason you see Remedy doing all these things with third party and exploring beyond Xbox, because I don't think anything they've ever done on Xbox as an exclusive kind of blew the doors open. So maybe they'll take advantage of some of this chatter.
Yeah, for sure.
Good on them.
Last news story that we would be remiss if we didn't talk about this one. Aspyr have announced a remaster of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which will be coming as a timed exclusive to PS5 and PC before migrating to other platforms at some point in the future. It sounds like they basically confirmed already that it will come to Xbox at some point. We just don't know when because they haven't announced how long the exclusivity window is for this game. We do know that Sony is publishing this game on PlayStation 5, which I think definitely makes it makes this move make more sense, because it does seem weird from us on the Xbox side to see something like this happen, because KOTOR is a game that's so closely aligned with Xbox, with the Xbox brand, because it was an Xbox exclusive. It's one of the highest profile games on the original Xbox, which again, we'll be talking about it on the Crossroads at some point. It's coming. And I think that it's an interesting move, but I also think it's possible. And this is something that I haven't really heard too many people talking about, but because Sony's publishing it, what I feel is probably happened with this game is that there's a possibility that this game wouldn't have been made without Sony's support, because it's a possibility that they're funding enough of the game to make it so it's happening in the same light that Street Fighter V happened with Capcom, where they weren't really interested in doing another Street Fighter game, but Sony came with a truck full of money and said, here, we want you to make this game, and turns out Street Fighter V happens. And I think that's how a deal like this came about. Or I know that I remember, I'm for blanking on who said this, but they had mentioned that, Jeff Grubb said this, that he believes what ended up happening with this deal was essentially that Aspire went to PlayStation and said, hey, how much, we have this idea for this project. Would you want to pay for exclusivity for this game? Sony backed up the truck with the money. And then when they went to Xbox and asked the same thing, it sounds like they didn't want to offer as much money or kind of meet Sony's price on this one, even though we know that Microsoft has the money to do that, because Microsoft could, go buy a lot of these companies over again, but they just, they hold back for a lot of reasons. So, and that's why I think this kind of fell into place. But for me personally, I'm a little bummed about this news, because as someone who loves Knights of the Old Republic, who really holds it as an Xbox, exclusive, like Xbox thing in my mind, from like 20 years of it being an Xbox exclusive and never really coming to the PlayStation platforms, it does hurt a little bit that it's not coming to Xbox platforms, but I know that I'm not the type of person who's affected by this, because I have a PlayStation 5 and I'm willing to just play it on PlayStation 5 when it comes out there. But Sean, I'm more interested to know what you have to say about this, because I know you don't have a PlayStation 5. And I know that you had some things to say about this on Twitter. So I want to give you the floor, my friend. What do you think about this?
Now I'm changing directions like on the fly here, because I think everything you just said makes a whole lot of sense. And maybe I shouldn't be mad at anybody except for maybe Microsoft for not making this happen if they truly had the opportunity to make it happen. I guess really what I'm going to say this very briefly, because I don't want to hang on this, because I don't think that the energy is a good thing to harbor in my soul. But how have we not talked about Rise of the Tomb Raider and all of the kerfluffle that happened about that, and how wrong that was, and how aligned with PlayStation that brand was, and to steal it away was wrong, and all of those things. And then here we are with KOTOR. All the things you said about how aligned it is with Xbox. It was one of the, people only played it there. It was an exclusive, and now it's over on PlayStation. Like, all of that energy, I just like, man, I just want to call out the imbalance. But in the end, these are all results of business deals, as you kind of talked about. So I would be really interested to know if there's validity to exactly what you said and how it all kind of comes down, because that does make sense that it's just a matter of like who's going to pony up for it. And it seems like Sony did. And why wouldn't they? Like, this kind of feels like what Xbox did to PlayStation with MLB The Show. It's like, what a get. What a massive, because I'll say this about the game. People heard me earlier, was it this year or last year? I played it recently, the original Xbox game, and I wasn't like overly crazy about it. I thought that the twist was like kind of meh, and I thought the gameplay was kind of, it's a 20-year-old game, so I felt a lot of that when I played it. So it's not like I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had this game because I really love this game. It's more just a crazy imbalance, just a crazy kind of exchange that happens when Xbox does something. It's monopolistic. This is a whole other thing. This is why I would love to chat with Mr. Badbit from the Trophy Room about, like, now they're in acquisition season, but those are okay. But, there's an arbitrary threshold that Microsoft seems to cross over every single time, and Sony does all this other stuff, and it's perfectly fine. So I don't know if I really talked about that briefly enough. Maybe I am harboring some negativity around it all. Those are my thoughts on it. But yeah, I think people will enjoy it. I'm really curious to see what they do with this. What does it mean, this remaster or remake? Like, those terms get blurred around quite a lot. I feel like there's still not a consistent understanding of what to expect when we're using these terms. I think Dead Space is another good example of that. So good to see, man, though. A lot of really good games from earlier decades ago now. Diablo 2 coming out, The Matrix coming out again. Like, there's a lot of resurgence from the heyday for us. If you're in your late 30s, it's kind of a good time, dude.
Yeah, the only thing, and I talked about this on the PlayStation Drive, but I'm going to reiterate it here. The only thing I'm worried about with this game is that it is Aspyr that's making it, and I talked about it there, but what did Aspyr, to my knowledge, they've never done a full game that from the ground up that's not a remaster. They've only done remasters of different games. So, for example, they did like the Jedi Outcast port, or the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer port, or the Stubbs the Zombie port. Like that's what Aspyr is known for. They're known for porting games from other consoles, and all their games have had mixed results. Like they've had some good ports, and they've had some not so good ports, like, for example, like the Stubbs the Zombie port, which I know a lot of people did not like. So I'm interested. I'm more interested to see how they grow how they've grown as a studio, and how this is going to turn out more than anything. And I am hopeful that this is awesome, but I'm going into this cautiously optimistic and not trying to not get myself too excited about it, because, again, I'm a huge fan of KOTOR. I want to be excited about this.
And you like the story, Ryan. You like the story of this as well, and characters. Now, I have to ask you, is this canon? Like, there's this whole conversation about how when Disney bought Star Wars, they said all the extended stuff, it's gone. It's not canon to the story. And anything new, like Jedi Fallen Order, that is canon. That's now part of the true Star Wars story. Does this kind of get grandfathered in?
It should, because they have gone back and brought a lot of the Old Republic stuff into canon. Like, they actually took the stuff from the MMO, the Old Republic, and actually worked a lot of it into canon now. So,
very cool.
I imagine they're going to do something similar with this, but I imagine they don't change the story too much. Also, one of the cool things that I saw that kind of became a news story after this came out was that Jennifer Hale confirmed that she's coming back as Bastila, which gets me very excited. And she said a lot of the other voice actors are going to be coming back. So I imagine like the voice actor who does Caden, who I'm blanking on from Mass Effect, will be back as Karth, as well as some of the other voice actors from Mass Effect. That
was it Mark Meer? Was it the main dude?
I think Mark Meer was in it, but it wasn't Mark Meer who did voice Caden. But I'm pretty sure like a lot of the voice actors that you probably remember from Mass Effect will be in this game too. So I am excited to see how this turns out. But we'll see. It's going to be a long time before it comes out anyways. Like, I imagine 2023, 2024 at the earliest, because it didn't give a date. So it's going to be a while before we talk about this one again. But I wanted to make sure we talked about it here before we signed off for the day. Well, we got to talk about some of these questions, Sean, we got in the carpool. So listeners at home, if you want to have your question read on the show, there's a number of ways to do that. Follow us on Twitter at YumiCapri, or you can leave a comment on YouTube, youtube.com/YumiCapri, or you can join our Discord, which is free to join. Links in the show notes, and you can leave your question there. Just like Todd Oxtra at Toxtra did, and he asked the question, is there a reason that Deathloop couldn't be on PC Game Pass now? The game is on PC, so it'd be a great way to give PC Game Pass something special. Destiny 2 isn't on PC Game Pass, so this would be a cool make good. So, I mean, with this game being a timed exclusive for PlayStation, I feel like there must be something in the legal documents about its exclusivity that prevents it from
the publishing of it. Yeah.
Because, again, it's not published by PlayStation, but I would imagine there's something there that, like, maybe they sketched up a long time ago when this was being negotiated as a PlayStation exclusive, even though they knew it was going to launch day one on PC, like, that it couldn't come to Game Pass until after the exclusivity was over. That's how I feel about it. What do you think, Sean?
I wonder, that, and I don't know if this ever comes into play, but some sort of, like, good faith, or even, like, is it confusing to the brand of it all? Like, is it more confusing than it's worth to say, not on Xbox consoles, but yes on Xbox PC kind of thing? Like, I don't know if that's worth it to muddy the waters, or does it even impact the revenue generated by it? Like, what are the expectations or even the obligations to generate revenue through traditional, like, sales versus a subscription model? I feel like there's quite a few factors there that have me thinking about push pins and pictures and bulletin boards and all those kind of things, like Charlie from Sunny. So I think that, I don't know if that explains it, Ryan, but I think that it's just a little bit more complicated than like, just put it over here. I think that it's depending on the PlayStation model of revenue generation. It's going to just sell copies the way that it always does. And yeah, that might just have been the way that it was all drafted up from the beginning. Too bad though, because you guys had Matt and Andrew from We the Nerdy did a great review, glowing review, and across the board, dude, IGN gave it a 10. Like, people really like this game. Them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that has my attention because I've come into this one a little warm, maybe even lukewarm, maybe even cool on Deathloop. So good for PlayStation. It's a good get, but it also has me hyped the fact that Xbox has that studio now as a first party going into. Oh man, do we actually know what they're doing next? Arcane
we know that they're doing Redfall, which is coming out next year, the one with the vampires.
Man, I'm totally mixing up my studios here. That's totally Arcane doing the exact same thing. Holy crap, that's amazing. Okay, so yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and my position still, even though with the glowing reviews, my position still is unchanged. Where like I don't really love Arcane's games. I always love the worlds they craft, but I don't love their games. So I think I'm gonna wait until it comes to Xbox Game Pass next year before I jump into this one.
To Todd's point, the Destiny stuff has got to get sorted out. It's got to be parity between PC and console. That does drive me crazy, and I'm with him on that.
But the thing is, I think they're moving away from Destiny being on Game Pass. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it leaves Game Pass because the next expansion is not coming to Game Pass. So
that's confirmed. It's absolutely not like that. That
they've already announced it's.
That sucks. That'd be a really good just. Tie those two together. That'd be a nice partnership, of course. Bungie and Xbox back together again, and everything's on Game Pass. You got Halo and Destiny on Game Pass. That'd be perfect. Damn it, that sucks.
It'd be too perfect. That's the problem.
Like, I think too perfect.
I think there's a possibility by this time next year it might not even be. Destiny 2 might not be on Game Pass anymore. So we'll see. All right. Next up, Zero Skill asks kind of an odd question. He asks, okay, the premise is a bit morbid, but stick with me. If you were diagnosed with a degenerative eye disease with no concrete time frame on how much time you have left, what games would you play before your eyesight ran out? Would you reach into the bag of old favorites, or would you play something that you might have missed that comes highly recommended? So, Sean, what do you think about this question? Because
you
went dark with this one.
You know what? It makes me just grateful for my eyesight for every day, for every waking moment. It's good to just be aware that it could all go away due to this morbid degenerative disease as I roll up to a hospital here in my car. I think I would go back in time. I think I would go back and I would play games like Super Mario and games like that because memory is a funny thing, especially like visual memory. I think if I lost my sight, as much as I would like to think that those visuals would be burned into my brain forever, I do think that they would fade. Similar to how people kind of talk about how they might forget what their mother looks like, or if people who lose their hearing, like the voice of maybe their kid or something like that. Like that, those things can fade to make this just really, really dark. So I think I would want to refresh those and have those kind of fresh in my mind before I lose all sight. How about you, dude? What a weird question.
I mean, I would just go back and play a bunch of older games, to be honest.
Would you?
Yeah. You can get through them very quickly. You can play a whole bunch of them, and I just really want to preserve those memories as long as possible playing those games. So that's kind of my answer to that one.
Yeah, same here, dude.
Last question of the week comes to us from TPR. Of course, the continuing train of TPR questions continues, Sean.
Love it.
But I'm going to actually go, because he asked a new one this week. So I'm actually going to go with this one, and then we're going to go to TPR's other question next week. And he asked, an Xbox 360 arcade-only title gets a remastered for current Xbox consoles. Which game would you pick and why? So, I mean, I'm going to cheat a little bit, TPR, because even though this game, the game I'm going to talk about actually came to other consoles, but it was a game that came to Xbox 360 arcade and did not actually get, backwards compatible or anything like that. I'm going to say Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
That's a good answer.
Incredible fighting game. One of the best 2D fighting games of all time.
What's the song at the menu? What do they say?
Take you for a ride?
Yeah. It's so good.
But I love Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It got delisted a couple years after it came out, as many games did on 360. And it's a game that people should still be able to play today. Again, it's one of the best fighting games out there. It's still mostly played at major fighting game tournaments. Like, I think it just left EVO not too long ago, but it was there at EVO for years and years and years after its release. So
Yeah.
that would be my pick. Also, again, like any of the Konami games, like Konami arcade games, like Simpsons Arcade,
Oh,
X-Men,
good one.
like
Yeah.
those all came to Xbox Live Arcade, but then never came back. So yeah, those are some of the things I want to see. Sean, what about you?
Well, I don't know. Like, man, it's a tough one because I don't know how many games truly just stayed on arcade, kind of like what you're talking about. So my answer, the first thing that came to mind was Limbo, actually. And does that count as an arcade?
So it
360
actually
arcade?
got a re-release on Xbox One.
Like in a remaster kind of thing?
Yeah, it already got that.
Golly.
But it was very early in the generation, which is why you probably forgot about it. It was like within the first like 6 months of Xbox One.
Kind of want that. Like, even though it's black and white, I just feel like HDR might come into play here, like more accurate blacks.
Yeah. Like a
And
4K version of it would be really cool.
That's kind of what I mean. Yeah. Like, just very sharp because the visuals are quite something. They're very simple, but very striking. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Limbo, even though that's maybe not the truest the truest answer to the question, but
it still counts.
Yeah,
it still counts.
I'm going with it.
Anyways, Sean, we got to go. Before we go, Sean, plugs go.
You can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri, at Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Sean Capri, and if you like, patreon.com/NewMeCapri.
Very nice, my friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You also find us on Twitter at YouMeCapris, on YouTube.com/YouMeCapri, and of course, podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 207 of the Xbox Drive, and we out. Bye.
This episode was really supersized, and I really enjoyed exploring some of these topics and talking about all the games that we played. And guess what? We're going to be talking about a lot of games that we're playing over the next little while. We got lots of coverage coming your way, so please enjoy the Xbox Drive throughout the holiday season. The Xbox Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/YouMeCapri. And from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful to the nearly 70 patrons who support us each and every month. With special thanks to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive. You can support Jonathan Brown at youtube.com/GamingPurpleMonkey. Our platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth, and all of our gold members, Argo, Benji Kong, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Heather Boney, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. If you'd like to support this show, go to patreon.com/YouMeCapri and choose the Patreon tier that works for you.